Back on CBS Sports HQ, presented by Capital One, and we are just 33 days away from the NFL regular season starting. But Deshaun Watson will have to wait a bit longer for his season to start, though. After initially receiving a 6-game suspension, the NFL appealed, seeking a suspension of at least a year. The appeal will be heard by former New Jersey Attorney General Peter C. Harvey. But for now, it is very uncertain when Watson might suit up for Cleveland. Here's a look at how that uncertainty impacts the Vegas odds in the AFC North. The Browns have the third best odds to win the division as their win total sits at 8.5. Meanwhile, the Ravens are the favourites to win the North at plus 155. And for more on the AFC North, we welcome in our NFL and Sportsline analyst, Emory Hunt. Emory, there's so many question marks surrounding Deshaun Watson and how the length of his suspension will impact Cleveland this season. In your eyes, what's the ceiling for this team in a 6-game suspension scenario versus a longer suspension?
And I'm glad you prefaced the statement with that, Poppy, because if you look at it from a 6-game suspension perspective, okay, I feel like Jacoby Brissett is good enough. This offense is solid enough with their run game, their offensive line. They have a really good defense that they can go 3-3 in those 6 games in which Deshaun is suspended. But if this expands to, let's say, 10 games, that puts them at the bye week when he comes back. Now he has 9 games to get it done, and that's the back end of the schedule. That includes Miami, Buffalo, New Orleans, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. So it's going to be hard for them, and I feel like because we don't know exactly what his suspension is, but we do know in the first 6 games, let's just go with that, 3-3, I think, is the ceiling for them, because I do feel like Jacoby Brissett is a solid enough quarterback to get the job done.
So big picture here then, their win total this season is currently set at 8.5. Based on how you think things will play out, do you see them going over or under that total?
With the amount of information that we don't know about Deshaun Watson, I'm going to go under and cap them off at 8. With Jacoby Brissett the entire season, I can see them going 8-9. So I will go under this 8.5 number. Now, with Deshaun Watson coming back, whenever that may be, again, the back end of the schedule is even tougher than the front end. And so with that being a factor, this team, along with the guys that they're going to have to face on the back end of that 9-game stretch after the bye week, I see them going under that total.
All right, well, elsewhere, the Cincinnati Bengals looking to repeat as the division champions. Their win total this season is currently set at 9.5. Where do you fall on this number, Emory?
I'm going to go over here because I feel like 10 is the magic number once again for Cincinnati. Still a young football team. They dropped some head scratchers last year, and I can see that being the case again this season. And there's still some question marks about their offensive line. There's still some question marks about their secondary in terms of how they can cover and start to turn the ball over. They're good at safety. They're a little bit more questionable, in my opinion, at the corners. But offensively, skill position-wise, we know they can average 30-plus points a game. Joe Burrow is the type of quarterback that can supersede bad offensive line play. They have a really good, strong tailback in Joe Mixon. So for me, offense will be in a lot of shootouts, and they still have the second best kicker, in my opinion, in this division in Evan McPherson. I know I panned the pick when they made the selection. I was like, wow, they wasted a pick on a kicker. Man, if he wasn't on this football team, they don't get to the Super Bowl. So I still feel like this is a strong AFC contender. They will get to the playoffs, in my opinion, so they will go over 9.5. Well,
the Bengals won the division last season, but the favourites to win the division this season is the Ravens, whose win total is the same as the Bengals at 9.5. How are you playing this number?
Listen, what if I told you last year the Ravens, despite everyone on the team getting injured, despite them having you and me out there, Poppy, they were still the number 1 seed and still was ready to go to the playoffs. And Lamar Jackson was number 1 in terms of MVP voting. So with all of those guys returning and this roster looked even better than it did last year, they are the clear-cut favorite to win this division. I think they are a Super Bowl contender. When you look at their offensive and defensive line, they've gotten better there. Lamar Jackson, I know people focus on the lack of receivers, but look at the tight ends they've added and the receivers that they currently have on the roster. He's worked with these guys for 2 to 3 seasons. They have some, continuity. They have some rapport. I think they are much better than what people are letting on. I like the Ravens a lot this year. Look for them to smash this over here and win the AFC North.
Maybe you, Emory, out there, not so sure about me, but confident that they'll get the over there. Let's talk about the Steelers then, because they've got the lowest win total in the division, currently set at 7.5. However, in 15 seasons, the Steelers have never finished under 500 under Mike Tomlin. Do you see that changing this year, Emory?
Listen, you laid it out perfectly. I'm not a math guy. I'm an English guy, and he's never had a losing season in over 15 years. But that seems like, great odds to me. So I'm going to go over here. Now, I will say, yes, you go over 7.5 wins, but you also have to think about them probably getting 9 wins. And I think that's going to be the case. Now, granted, it'll be tough to do so this year because their quarterback room is a lot more questionable than it has been in the past 15 seasons. But we've seen Mike Tomlin work with a questionable quarterback room when Ben Roethlisberger was out with injury, and he almost got that team to the playoffs. Feel as though this will be a run game defense type of a ball club this year. If they can just get efficient play from Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, or even Mason Rudolph, then they can be in the contention of competing to go over this number. But I feel like you have to trust Tomlin, you have to trust their defense, you have to trust their run game. I think they go over 7.5.
So putting the faith back in Tomlin. All right, well, the Ravens, they're favoured by Vegas to win the division. I think I know where you're going with this, but are you siding with them or are you taking someone else, Emory, to win the division here?
Now you have to go with the Ravens. They have the best quarterback in the division. They have a really good defensive foundation. They're getting better in the secondary. They're getting healthier in the secondary. And I feel like people will sleep on their tight end group outside of Mark Andrews, but Charlie Kohler and Isaiah Likely, 2 rookies, will have a huge impact. They will get back J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. Keep an eye out for rookie Tyler Beatty, and Lamar Jackson will get back in the conversation for MVP number 2 this year. So I like the Ravens to not only win the AFC North, but for them to get to the Super Bowl as well.
Well, I know that you're counting down the days until it all gets underway. Just 33 days to go. Emory, thank you so much. Let's take one last look then at Emory's picks. He's taking the under 8.5 for the Browns, over 9.5 for the Bengals, over 9.5 as well for the Ravens, and over 7.5 for the Steelers. And his pick to win the AFC North is also the bookies' favourite, the Baltimore Ravens, at plus 155.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.